Hey, good morning and welcome to the broadcast today. So happy that you joined me again as we're wrapping up this series on the 23rd Psalm. And by the way, yes, I'm dressed for the Super Bowl today. It is Super Bowl Sunday. We've had a pretty electric week around here in the Tampa Bay area. I hope they have in Kansas City as well. Even with the COVID restrictions, it's really, it's been a fun time. We're looking forward to the game. By the way, I've got sisters and a brother in the Kansas City area. I've got good friends out there, so we got some rivalry going on. Now, we played a song for you as we were coming on today, and it's a song by a group called Nappy Roots, and in my opinion, it's just the best. In fact, it's a great song for a lot of things. It's a great getting out of bed song, a great workout song, a great song when you're afraid or filled with all kinds of what-ifs. Today I just woke up and said, instead of waiting on a good day to happen, waiting around through ups and downs, waiting on something to happen, I just say, hey, we're going to have a good day. Well, let's talk about having a good day as we wrap up this series on the 23rd Psalm. And I want to begin by reading these verses. There are only 6 of them, very powerful verses. And I'd like for you to read along with me. I know it's kind of funny if you're by yourself in your house reading out loud, but it'll help you. All right, so read aloud with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Several weeks ago, I challenged everyone to read this psalm 5 times every day while we were in the series. Many of you have done that, and I've been hearing from you. Thank God for that. Well, one of our online viewers in Virginia contacted me and said he'd taken that challenge and he'd really gotten into it. So I emailed back, and among other things, I said to him, it's so great that you've gotten into it. Now the question is the psalm getting into you? And he emailed me back and said, Pastor, I believe it is. I think I can really tell a difference. Isn't that great? That's what it's all about. And by the way, that has to be our ongoing question as well. Is this psalm starting to make a difference? Is it getting into you? Because remember this, God did not give us Psalm 23 just to educate us about our relationship with Him. He gave us this psalm so we might experience a relationship with Him. That rather than just being a shepherd, He would be my shepherd. Because how many of you know there's a huge difference there? So it's not so much about what I learn from the psalm as it is what I live out of the psalm. All right, today, verse 6, as we think about how we can make the rest of our lives the best of our lives. That'd be a good deal, right? 2 things today. Number 1, the rest of our life can be the best of our life because goodness and mercy are watching over me. Notice the psalmist says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Because God knows we need both of those if the days ahead are going to be the best days. We need mercy because no matter how much we love God and love other humans, we are still going to do some stupid sheep stuff from time to time, yes? So we need His mercy. And we need God's goodness too, because even in the best of times, we will still have day-to-day needs. And something to remember here is that it is easy for God to express goodness as well as mercy to us. And the reason why it's so easy is because it is His nature. In Psalms 136, it says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His mercy endures forever." God's nature, His essence, if you will, is goodness and mercy. And because of that, He cannot not be so. He cannot help but be good and merciful. Have you ever seen someone do something wrong or offensive, like they cuss or they get angry or belch loudly, whatever, And then they will say something like this, "Oh, sorry, I just couldn't help myself." Well, usually that's not true. Usually they can help themselves, right? They just don't want to. But if God were to say, "Oh, sorry, I just can't help but love you. Sorry, I just can't help but show you mercy," how many of you know that's the truth? Because that's just who He is. It is in His nature. So now watch what David is doing here. In describing the nature of God, he is actually painting a word picture of a shepherd out on the Judean hillside, just him and his sheep, and get this, his two sheepdogs, goodness and mercy. And those two dogs are continually circling the flock, especially bringing up the rear as the shepherd is out front leading. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a good sheep or cattle dog work, but it is truly a beautiful and graceful thing. So with innate skill and precision, these dogs will gather the sheep, they'll bunch them, guide them, and bring them over this way and back over that way. And when there's a stray or a wandering sheep, the dogs will gently lead and encourage that sheep back into the flock. Now, with that picture in mind, let me give you a couple of words here. I want you to just write these down. Jot them down on your piece of paper there or something, maybe in the margin of your Bible. Write down the word, first of all, the word protection. You see, what if not just one or two, but what if an entire pack of wolves attacked the flock? Well, the shepherd could easily lose some of his flock unless old goodness and mercy were around. Because the shepherd, armed with his rod and staff, accompanied by his sheepdogs, could fend off even a considerably large number of predators. So the first word is protection. Secondly, write this word down. Write down the word pursuit. David says, "Goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives." Now that word "follow" is far stronger than, it's a strong Hebrew word, far stronger than just passively walking along behind. It literally means to pursue. It is a strong, fierce word, a vivid word. And it is a word to describe God pursuing us. Oh, I know, Pastor, like if I don't live right, God's going to chase me down and come and get me and punish me, right? No. But how sad that so many of us grew up believing that kind of interpretation of God. Here's the deal. While it's true no one escapes God, what is also true is that when God comes, He comes with goodness meeting all your needs and mercy assuring you of His continued love and forgiveness. Think about your pets. How many of you have a dog or a cat, maybe some other animal? And don't tell me you have a baby pig, because I want a little mini pig so bad. And if you have one, it's going to make me angry at you, and I'll probably quit praying for you. So don't tell me that. But how many of you have a dog? Seriously, how many of you have a dog or cat? We actually have one of each. We have a dog and a cat. Well, the other day, my wife was laughing at me because every time I came out of my office in our home here and was going to the kitchen or to the printer or even the bathroom, here were both of those fur babies right behind me. 1, 2, 3, following me just step for step. And so I guess it looked funny. But anyway, I don't even know why I told you that. The entire Bible, oh yeah, seriously though, the entire Bible from beginning to end is this striking story of God's persistent pursuit of His creation, like my fur babies after me, like goodness and mercy after the sheep. Beginning with God walking through the garden, calling out, "Adam, where art thou?" To the last chapter of the Bible, God lovingly and lastingly pursues us, which, by the way, is the primary difference between Christianity and other religions. Religion is humankind pursuing God. Christianity is God pursuing humankind. So the words protection and pursuit are important here, but write down a third one real quick. Write down the word perseverance, because it goes sort of hand in glove with pursuit. Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Now think about that. Think about your shepherd God never giving up. Every day, day in and day out, every moment, God pursuing you. God pursuing me with His goodness and mercy. Think about that. Someone say, my, my. Listen, some of you are in a storm today, and it feels like the enemy is pressing in from all sides, does it not? Fear not. God's goodness and mercy are with you. Some of you have faced some things this past year, and you are still facing things that you could have never imagined you would face. Hey, God's goodness and mercy have not abandoned you. Some of you have children who are perhaps breaking your heart, or a marriage that's on the brink. Or maybe you have a loved one who recently passed, and maybe a dream has been shattered and a promise has been broken. Here's your good news. Ready? All the days of your life, the good days and the bad days, and even the worst days, goodness and mercy will be there. Goodness and mercy will persevere. One mother wrote these words after losing her only son to a very tragic accident. She wrote, "When we walk to the edge of all the light we have and take that step into the darkness of the unknown, we must believe that one of two things will happen. There will be something solid to stand on, or God will teach us to fly." Isn't that beautiful? And it's so very true. So the rest of our life can be the best of our life because, number one, God's goodness and mercy are watching over me. And the second thing is because God Himself is forever with me. David said, "And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Now, David is saying that while God has this utterly amazing life for you here, in which goodness and mercy shall be following you and watching over you every step of the way, that's not the end of the story. And most times we would say, yes, no, I agree with that. It's not the end of the story. Because this verse seems to be saying that we have heaven waiting for us, right? We will always be together with the Lord forever. And that is true, to be sure, but there are more to these words than just heaven. I want you to take a listen to a couple of other verses in Psalms. One of them's in Psalm 27. "One thing I have asked of the Lord that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord." Now, look at the language, how it parallels with Psalm 23. "That I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in His temple." And then in Psalm 92 it says, "The righteous flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon." Now watch. "They are planted in the house of the Lord. They flourish in the courts of God." Now in both of these passages, David is using terms like house of the Lord and temple and the courts of our God to refer not just to a physical location, but more to the point, he is referring to the presence of God. You see, under the Old Covenant, you're probably aware of this, but the temple was where God's special presence dwelt among His people. That place His people came to be forgiven and to worship. So David's confidence is that he will dwell in the fullness of what that temple represents. In other words, that he will dwell in God's presence forever. So in a sense, the way David ends this psalm, it's like he's recapping. It's like he's restating. Because here's what he's actually saying. "The Lord is my shepherd forever. I shall not want forever. He makes me lie down in green pastures forever. He leads me beside still waters forever." The point being that forever means starting now and lasting through eternity. And I'm not discounting heaven. I'm not playing it down. On the contrary. Eternity with Jesus and all those we've loved and lived with on this earth, wow. What a forever. Amen? In fact, one more passage I want to read to you. Look what Jesus says about dwelling in the house of the Lord and the presence of the Lord. It's found in John chapter 14. Jesus said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house hath many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am." So Jesus and David are tracking together here, aren't they? In that they both declare that as sheep in God's pasture, we will be in His presence now, and we will be in His presence forever. The difference, of course, is that right now we don't understand everything. And we let things and we let the stuff of our day-to-day get in the way of experiencing and enjoying God's presence from time to time. Here we are impeded by our own failures, by our own sin and fears, our inconsistencies. But in that day to come, there will be no more impeding. And this psalm will be true for us in the perfect sense. Incidentally, are you familiar with the fantasy series, The Chronicles of Narnia? If so, you know the final book there is called The Last Battle. And there are some great parallels in that book with this 23rd Psalm. Now, let me set the stage here to remind those of you that it's probably been a while since you read the series or that particular book. So let me set the stage a bit, and then I want to read a few paragraphs for you. A little girl by the name of Lucy and her siblings were evacuated out of London to a country manor during World War II during the bombings. Well, when they got there, while they were exploring their new surroundings, they discovered an old room with a wardrobe in it. And that wardrobe had a secret passageway into a magical realm called Narnia. And on a number of occasions, they enter Narnia to explore. Now, while they're exploring, they meet all sorts of creatures, and in particular, a lion by the name of Aslan. Aslan represents Jesus in the Chronicles of Narnia. Now, listen to what happens toward the end of the book. Let me just read some things to you. My assistant's going to help hold some of it up for me, and I've got some of it written here. Listen to this. Lucy stood with her dear friend, her oldest Narnia friend, the fond Tumnus, looking down over the wall of that garden and seeing Narnia spread out below. Then she turned inward again and stood with her back to the wall and looked at the garden. Lucy noticed or looked hard at the garden and saw that it was not really a garden, but a whole world with its own rivers and woods and sea and mountains. "Ah, I see," she said. "This is Narnia, and more real and more beautiful than the Narnia down below," in other words, on earth. Soon they found themselves walking together, and a great bright procession it was, up toward the mountains higher than you could see in this world, even if they were there to be seen. But there was no snow on these mountains. There were forests and green slopes and sweet orchards and flashing waterfalls, one above the other, going up forever. And the land they were walking on grew narrower all the time, with a deep valley on each side. Now, do you see a parallel there with Psalm 23? Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. So there was a deep valley on each side. The light ahead, though, was growing stronger. And Lucy saw that a great series of many colored cliffs led up in front of them like a giant staircase. And then she forgot everything else, because Aslan himself was coming, leaping down from cliff to cliff like a living cataract of power and beauty. And then Aslan turned to them and said, "You do not yet look so happy as I mean you to be," Lucy said. Lucy said, "We're so afraid of being sent away, Aslan, as you have sent us back into our world so often." "No fear of that," said Aslan. "Have you not guessed?" Their hearts leaped and a wild hope rose within them. "There was a real railway accident," said Aslan softly. "Your father and mother and all of you are, as you used to call it in the Shadowlands, dead. The term is over. The holidays have begun. The dream is ended. This is the morning." And as he spoke, he no longer looked to them like a lion, but the things that began to happen after that were so great and beautiful that I cannot even write about them. And for us, this is the end of all the stories. And we can most truly say that they all lived happily ever after. But for them, it was only the beginning of the real story. All their life in this world and all their adventures in Narnia had only been the cover and the title page. Now at last they were beginning chapter 1 of the great story, which no one on earth has read, which goes on forever, in which every chapter is better than the one before. Now, don't you love that? Maybe hard to understand all the intricacies, but did you see some of the parallels in Psalm 23? Listen now. This life God has given you is a beautiful and blessing-filled life. Yes, indeed. But there is still much more to come. Both here on this earth and one day face to face with Him in eternity. Which means the rest of your life will be the best of your life. That's good, isn't it? Hey, I'm so happy you've joined me today. And if you have any questions about this message, this series, or about anything in general, or if you have prayer needs, will you please just let me know? And then let me make a special announcement to you before I close. Next week is Valentine's Day on Sunday. And next week I will begin a brand new series from 1 Corinthians 13. It's called The Love Chapter. And I'm calling the series Love Handles, Getting a Grip on Your Relationships. You do not want to miss this one. I'm telling you, it's going to be good and it's going to be fun. So have a great day today. Enjoy the game if you watch it. If not, just enjoy your day. Be blessed all week long. I can't wait to see you again. God bless you. Bye-bye.